So we're ready? Ready. So, how stress kills? Raise your hand if you have stress in your life.
We all have
Both
that.
hands?
So, are we stressed today? Alright, awesome. So, today's talk, have you guys heard that stress kills?
Yes.
Today I want to show you how stress literally leads to every single major cause of death in the world. So, what are the top killers in our country? What else?
Joey, do you want to sit on the arm or anything?
Also, some other diseases that we're going to go into today. Maybe some Alzheimer's. Maybe diabetes, for sure. Depression. All this stuff.
Yeah.
All of this is linked to stress. Okay? So, let's start by talking about how we react to stress. We have this thing inside of us called a stress response, right? So, let's say I'm out in the woods and I'm walking and all of a sudden I see a bear.
Run.
How does your body react?
Run.
Bear. Right? Okay. This is called our fight or flight. Now let me ask you guys. Now everyone, close your eyes and feel that feeling. What does it feel like?
Constricted.
Constrictive. Good word, Richard. What else?
Your heart's pumping.
Okay. Heart pounding. Sweaty. Anxiety. Panic. Nailing it right now. Okay. So, I want to start with this. How does stress start in the body? What's the first thing that happens? We're walking in the woods. What's the first thing that happens?
Stand still.
We see the bear first. Or we hear something first. Does that make sense? It all starts
With senses.
with our senses.
Ah.
Which, how do our senses work? They all are input in our nervous system. Right? It all starts with the nervous system. We sense something, our nervous system senses it, and then what does our body release? Adrenaline is the first thing. Anyone know where adrenaline is released from?
Your adrenal.
The adrenal glands, right? Makes sense. Sits on top of the renals, which are the kidneys, the adrenals, okay? So we have adrenaline released, which then triggers your body to release another hormone. What's another stress hormone? Who here's heard of cortisol before, right? You may have heard of as cortisone or cortisone shots. Steroid shots. It's a natural steroid your body produces. Okay? Why do you use a cortisone shot? What does a cortisone shot do?
Steroids.
Yeah, it stops inflammation, stops pain. Does that make sense? It puts you in the moment so you can get through stress. So let me ask you, your body goes through this crazy reaction. What's the purpose of this reaction?
Save your life.
Oh.
Right? It's called the fight or flight. So what I want to do, why I love this talk is because you guys walked me through it. We all have been stressed before. Some of us live in a state of stress.
You got that right.
Okay? So, I want us to walk through this process inside of us. Now, I want to do it this way. Let's see here. It's called a fight or flight for a reason, because when you see something that stresses you out, what do you want to do? You want to fight it, or you want to run away as fast as possible? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about how our body intelligently does this inside of us. We're going to go through the list of the body parts, and we're going to say, okay, is our body going to increase its function or decrease its function? What's really important to fight or to run away? Okay? So let's start with this. Let's start with blood flow. When you see that bear and you get scared and you have to fight, what is your blood flow going to do? Are you going to need more blood flow? And by the way, what's inside of blood?
Air.
Oxygen?
Lymph.
Okay, no, lymph's not
Just
inside
kidding.
of blood. What else? Oxygen.
H2O.
Just kidding. Oxygen and how about sugar or fuel? So we need energy, right? So what needs energy? Do our muscles need energy when we're trying to fight? Yeah. So what ends up happening is our blood flow is directed all to our muscles. So that we have an increase in blood flow to our muscles. Do our organs need more energy or more oxygen?
Yes.
Yes.
They actually don't. Think about it. We want to run or we want to fight. So we want to put all of our energy into our muscles. Okay? So what ends up happening is it takes blood flow away from your organs and your skin and your appendages. When you're stressed, do your hands get really warm or really cold?
Sweaty.
Really cold, right? Cold and clammy, right? Same with your feet. It's because your body's taking all of its energy away and putting it all just into your core muscles. Make sense? So what you'll find is that blood flow will decrease to your organs and your skin. Sugar, what do we use sugar for? Energy, right? So do we need more energy or less energy?
More.
So what happens to the amount of sugar in your blood? So your body starts to release all of this sugar from your sugar storages into your bloodstream. Okay? So your blood sugar goes up. Yeah, what happens to your heart? Does it beat slower or faster? Now, why would your heart beat faster? We need more blood, right? We need to get more energy, more blood. So it all makes sense, doesn't it? So your heart rate goes up. What happens to your blood pressure, too? Goes up, right? It's constrictive, like Richard said. What happens to your lungs? Do you breathe slower, deeper?
No, fast.
You kind of pump oxygen in your system, right? So your lungs go up like that. How about your brain?
It shuts down.
So this is really interesting, right? We need certain parts of our brain when we're trying to run. Now let me ask, you have different parts of your brain, right? You have your new brain, your neocortex, which is this outer part for all thinking and higher function. Do you need that when you're trying to run away from a bear?
No.
Or does all the energy go to your brainstem? Your reptilian brain, right? Your instinctual body, your brain. Does that make sense? So your neocortex, like where we do all of our thought processing, goes down. And our brainstem, that function goes up. Okay. One thing our liver does, it'll actually increase the amount of cholesterol pumping in our system. How about your digestive tract? Do you need to defecate while you're running away from the bear? You might be a little lighter, I don't know.
Maybe
But-
just beforehand.
Right? What happens is your whole digestive system shuts down completely.
Okay.
How about your immune system? Do you need to have a really strong immune system when you're fighting something? So what happens to your immune system? Okay. Anyone knows what happens to the pH of your body as a result of this?
More acidic.
Right? Is cortisol an acidic or more of an alkaline type of hormone? Very acidic. So your pH actually goes down, which means more acidic. Okay?
You're burning more sugar.
Right? And we'll talk about DNA in the long term, okay? But I want you guys to realize, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Who says it's a good thing? Who says
What
it's a bad thing?
happens? It's what happens.
So let's ask this question. We always ask this question. You have an infinite wisdom inside of you. Is it creating this?
Yes.
It is, right? It's your response when you see a bear. Right? So, this is an extremely intelligent response. This is what our body needs to do in order to survive. If it doesn't do this, we don't run away or we don't get our strength and our muscles to fight that bear. What happens to us? We die. Now let's talk about, here's the issue. Not this response. Let's talk about this response if we stay locked in it long term though. Because think about it, a couple hundred years ago, what did we do? We'd walk in the woods, we'd see that bear, we would have this crazy reaction, and then we'd either run away, we'd fight it, and then the altercation would be done, and then what would happen? Yeah, relaxation again, right? Life is good. Make sense? Okay. Now in today's world, do we have that same luxury? Let me ask you, how many people here are walking in the woods seeing bears on an everyday occurrence? Right? That's not our stress today.
Driving in traffic.
Right? What? Yeah, driving in traffic. How many people here drive in traffic every day? Multiple times a day.
That's walking in the woods.
Okay. What else stresses you guys out today?
Homework.
Homework. Bills.
You got that
Who
one.
here has bills? Do like a whole bunch, right? How about a cell phone? Buzzing in your pocket. Does that stress anybody else out? How about work? Does work stress anybody out?
Yes, and then
Okay.
children, and
Children.
old parents, old elderly parents.
Right? Exactly. Taking care of people stresses out. So do we have a lot of stress today?
Yeah.
Tremendous amount. So here's the problem. We don't have this reaction where we just get stressed and then we go back to the watering hole and we just hang out.
If you watch the news, you get a lot of stress.
Hey, how about the foods we eat? Do they cause stress?
Yes.
Absolutely. So, let's talk about it this way. Now, we do this short term, our body does an excellent job. We do this long term, some really bad things happen. What happens if in our blood flow, the whole time, we're diverting blood away from our organs and our skin and putting it all towards our muscles?
You're toxic.
Yeah, what happens to your organs? What are your organs needing to survive? Need that blood flow. They need that blood flow because they're always trying to replenish themselves. They're always trying to make hormones. They're always trying to survive. So if you're taking blood away from your organs, they're literally rotting away and dying. They can't heal themselves nearly as quick. So if you do this every day, in and out, in and out, in and out, okay, for a year you won't notice stuff. Do it for 20 years. You think you have a problem? Absolutely. Okay. How about sugar? If you have sugar increased inside of your blood for a long period of time,
You're in trouble.
what do you call that?
Diabetes.
So does stress lead to diabetes?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. How about this? What happens with your heart? When your heart is speeding up, speeding up, speeding up, what would that lead to? So we get increased heart rate, increased blood pressure disorders, but also increased heart disease. Guys, this isn't the talk, but we talk about what causes a heart attack in our heart disease lecture. And they're finding way more evidence to find that heart attacks are not caused by cholesterol and clogging in your heart. What's it caused by? It's caused by, when you see something that scares you, your heart speeds up and goes blah, 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 blah. And then it can't slow down and it burns through all of its energy and then
Breaks
has a heart attack. Okay? So it has way more to do with the stress system than it does any kind of cholesterol or clogging inside of you. Okay? So it leads to heart disease. Okay? How about if your lungs are always breathing like that? What does that lead to? Over time, what happens to your oxygen levels? Okay, lack of oxygen to your system, okay? Anyone know what that can cause, by the way? Jaundice, but yeah, fatigue. How about cancer? Okay? What happens if you're not getting any energy or blood flow to your neocortex over time?
Brain dead.
Yeah. Guys, anyone ever seen this before? Like when somebody gets older, they start to get in their patterns, and they just kind of it's like living in a little pattern or a program, and it's like there's not much new thought patterns going on. Does that make sense? They're out of their neocortex. Where are they? They're in instinct mode. They become more animalistic, literally, as they get older because they're becoming brain dead. Okay? Also dementias, also depressions, anxieties, all this stuff. All from stress. Okay? Increased cholesterol inside your system. Not good. That can lead to some heart disease. It can lead to some plaquing as well. How about decreased energy to your digestive tract? Yeah, so it leads to constipation, right? So here's the problem with constipation. What's sitting inside your intestines? Toxic waste, junk. What happens if it sits in there? Yeah, what's going to happen to the tissue inside of there? It's going to rot away, right? What's going to happen to the bacteria in there? Is it going to change the bacteria that's in there? Okay. Guess what it's going to lead to?
Infection.
So it's going to lead to things like ulcerative colitis. What does colitis mean? Inflammation of the colon. Crohn's disease. IBS. What else is going to lead to? Anyone know? This is a pretty interesting fact. They've done a couple studies on cancer, and one of the big contributing factors that almost everyone that has cancer is they have constipation. Okay, it makes sense, doesn't it? What's happening? You're having a whole bunch of waste just hang out inside of you that you're constantly absorbing and absorbing. So this can also lead to cancer. Hey, what happens when your immune system is blocked for a long period of time?
You get sick.
Now, did you guys know this? Anyone feel like when they get stressed out, they get sick? You actually don't. When do you get sick? So, like, let's say, yes. They did this study with a dog one time. They took this German Shepherd and they brought him into this place and they put him in a kennel. But in their kennel, they made this beautiful, like, cushiony place that was awesome. They fed him the best food ever, treated him like a king. And then after a few weeks, they put them out of there, put them across into a basic kennel, and they moved another dog inside of his territory. Stressed the dog out, right? Kept the dog there for a week, and they made the dog watch. Dog was fine. They took the other dog away after a week, put the other dog back in his kennel. Guess what they found? Dog had a heart attack and died. When did the dog have the heart attack?
After the stress was gone.
Right? So you guys realize what ends up happening is while you're stressed, your immune system is going down. Right? Remember all the stuff we call getting sick. It's not us being sick, right? Coughing, sneezing, fever. That's actually a sign that we have a high immune system. Does that make sense to everybody? So when you're actually stressed out, most of us, we feel that tensity. We actually don't feel sick. It's when the stress has passed. So if somebody, I don't know if you remember in high school or college, you're studying for that big test and you're stressing out, and then the test is gone, and then that next day you're like, oh, and you're wiped out, and you feel like, boom. That's when your immune system spikes back up again. And that's when you feel sick, right? But during this, you're keeping your immune system lower and lower and lower. What does that lead to?
Increased disease.
Yeah. Cancer patients have a 200% lower immune system than the average person. So cancer for sure. Also, you're harboring bacteria, you're harboring viruses, you're harboring probably parasites, because your body doesn't have anything to fight these things off. Free radicals, you name it. Okay? And then again, pH, you keep your pH lower and lower, you're getting into more and more acidic conditions. What does that lead to?
Everything.
Yeah, and again, these are cancer, heart disease, diabetes, everything. By the way, who is here for our lecture on the DNA? A couple people here? So, remember, DNA is what? How would you guys describe DNA?
It's the blueprint of your body.
It's the blueprints, right? But they're all rolled up, and you decide, depending on what environment you're in, what blueprints you pull out and open up and make. So if you're constantly in an environment of stress, what blueprints are you making? Stressed out blueprints. You're making a stressed out body over and over and over again. You guys see how stress leads to literally every single disease on the planet. Okay? So, next question. Is it really the stress that's causing it though? Yeah, are we victims to this?
It's our perception of the stress.
Right? It's our perception and our inability to adapt to the stress. And that's what we want to really start to focus on. Because we can be victims to this so easily. Be like, oh, I just have stress in my life. How many of us say that? You know, me included, where it's like, oh, I'm just stressed, I got stress in my life. And we just take it for granted. Right? As soon as we give the responsibility to the stress and we blame that, it's got control over us. We have the ultimate control, right? But we have to understand this system. We have two parts of our nervous system. This is called our fight or flight system. But we also have something called our rest and digest nervous system. And let's get into that a little bit. So, here's my beautiful little drawing up here. That's not bad, right? It's getting better. So the fight or flight system is called your sympathetic nervous system. Okay? Remember, we said the first thing that happens is you have your senses that pick up something, and they activate this part of your nervous system called your fight or flight. The fight or flight system is mainly between here and here. Okay? So this is the part of your nervous system. The nerves come out, and they activate. So remember, when you see that, what happens to your heart rate, right? These nerves are going to send all this information and create all the heart to speed up. It's going to go to your lungs and make you breathe. It's going to go to your stomach and shut all this down. Does that make sense? Think of it like the gas pedal. So your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight nervous system, is your gas pedal that's being activated. So what's the brake system? It's called your parasympathetic, your rest and digest. Anyone know where those nerves come off of? Everyone take your pinkies out. Put them right where I adjust you guys. That's the biggest nerve of your rest and digest system. Anyone know the name of it?
Vegas?
It's called your vagus nerve. So your vagus nerve comes off literally the base of your brainstem, comes down, and it tells your heart, hey, slow down. Comes off, goes to your stomach, says, hey, speed up, start digesting, goes to your small intestine, tells it, hey, start digesting food. And you also have some parasympathetic nerves in your sacrum too, where you sit. And they'll come out. And by the way, we didn't talk about this, also goes to your sex organs as well. Do you need your sex organs when you're running away from a bear?
No.
Hope not. Guess that's the one tactic, I don't know. Right? So, here's the deal. When you are constantly stressed out, what happens to your fertility? Right? Remember, there are different signs of life. There are certain, your body works on a triage system and only makes so much energy. If you're stressed out, if you're sick, guess what the first thing to go is? Your ability to reproduce. Right? So if somebody is infertile, typically it's because their body is in a diseased state. And your body's saying, wow, I'd rather you survive than reproduce. Make sense?
Is that why female athletes stop having cycles?
Partially. It's interesting when you get into that, though, too, because some people believe that the healthier you get, you actually don't have cycles that often. You don't notice you have cycles. So you don't have much bleeding. Some people believe, like your uterus, for example, is a secondary way we get waste out of us. So once we get a little bit older, we get a little bit more sick, we have more toxins in us. When we have our menstrual cycle, it's a little bit of a heavier flow, for example. It's because there's a lot of toxins inside. So some people report the more clean they get and the more they detox, they eventually, they don't even know when they're in a cycle or not because they barely feel anything. But they're still ovulating too.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know. It could be kind of both ways with that, right? Okay, so I want you guys to realize we have both of these nervous systems working, but they work. You know the use it or lose it principle? It's how they work. Okay, I want you to think of it like this scale. You have this rest and digest system or this fight or flight system. And the more you use one, you train it to get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger until it's locked in one set. Okay? So, which one do we use more here in our country?
Fight or flight.
Now think about being a kid. Which one did you use more? When you were a kid, were you worried about bills? Were you worried about the stuff? Were you worried about work?
Rest and digest.
Right? How fun was it being a kid? Where did you hang out all the time?
Try to.
Right? Try to as much as possible, right? That's where we want to get back to. This is our dominant place. Okay? I want you to think about animals in the wild. Where are they hanging out?
Their habitat.
Anyone have any pets?
Yeah.
Where are your pets hanging out?
Rest and digest.
Once in a while, I like the neurotic dog who's freaking out all the time. But most of our pets are in rest and digest mode almost all the time. They'll have their little freak out moments, but most of the time they're just relaxed and they're in that relaxed state. Okay? Why aren't we in that state? Right? So we gotta get stuff done. So is it about getting stuff done?
We think we do.
Here you go.
We have to learn how to be a dog.
Right? Great, you're pretty good at that. So, let's talk about this. What activates our gas pedal on a daily basis?
Fighter.
What activates our gas pedal? What activates that fight or flight system?
Oh.
So remember, it's not stress, right? What I mean by that is this. I've used this example before. I like to use the example of labeling us as people 0 through 10. Like, how big a person are you? Are you a 0 person or are you a 10 person? So a level 10 person can accomplish anything. And then rank your problems from 0 to 10 and how big they are. So if you have a level 4 problem, but you're a level 2 person, how big a problem is that? How much does it stress you out? If you're a level 8 person and you have that level 4 problem, how much does it stress you out? So is it the stress that's really causing the problems? It's totally, yeah, it's our responsibility. Now let's get a couple things out of the way. We know one thing creates the gas pedal. We know food and nutrition can totally rev up that fight or flight system. What foods are going to release that? Sugar for sure. Processed sugar. Let's be clear about that. Meat, dairy, eggs, what else? Caffeine. Right? Medication. All this stuff we know will rev up this green system. It'll get that gas pedal going. Right? Again, I don't want to get into that again. We haven't talked on that. But again, it depends on which supplement, I'm sure, for that person and how they're reacting to it. But probably for the most part, it's going to cause a little bit of a stress reaction. You know, you have to realize no matter what food we eat in general, there's going to be a little bit of a stress reaction to it. Right? You're putting food inside, you're putting something from the outside inside of you, your body has to stress out a little bit, doesn't it? Okay? So it's really like all food stresses us out, but it's what food stresses out the most versus which ones do the little. So what foods actually activate the brake system? Right? We all know this. Fruits, greens. What else?
Vegetables.
How about teas? Yeah, veggies. Okay. You know, for some people, some starches. It's all relative. It's all kind of what your body's used to, what it can handle, what it won't. You know, the further we are on this, it's going to change a little bit, but those are pretty much the ones that are good to go. How about when we fast or when we juice cleanse and stuff like that too?
Oh yeah.
How many people here feel way more relaxed when they're doing like a juice cleanse?
Yeah.
Okay, after like 2 days. After that, that initial like.
That's stress.
Yeah.
2 days of stress.
So what else? Gas pedal wise.
Meat.
Anger. So let's not do food anymore, Joey. What else? What's gonna activate it? What's that? Loud music.
TV.
Guys, let's go to cause here.
Money.
So, money.
Road rage.
I want to call it more like the mind / the ego. And the reason I say that is because, like money, if I say money, who here doesn't stress it out? Come on, no one's stressed out money here? Everyone's like, no, I'm bad.
We're rich.
And then how many people here are actually excited when they hear the word money? Right? So it depends, right? These are the relative things, but our mind and our ego are actually the ones that are putting us in this stress state. It's how much do we really believe this stuff has a control over us, right? The things that are coming up in our life, how much do we react to them? How attached are we to them? Versus how much do we just trust and let go? Okay? So another one is this: how much are we in our future? How much are we in our past?
We're in my past every day.
Versus what puts us in the
Now.
someone, I don't know, it might have been someone in this room on Facebook, someone posted a comic, and it was it said spiritual fair, and then it had past life regressions, and there was a big line. And then it said, over here on the right, it had fortune teller, and it had a big line. And then in the middle, it had meditation, and there was no one there. It was like meditation, present time consciousness, and no one was there. Everyone wanted to know about their past, everyone wanted to know about their future. No one wants to just sit in the now. But that's where peace is. Does that make sense? So, right, and think about this. Like, if a bill is stressing you out, is it really the bill that's stressing you out? Or are we just thinking about, wow, I don't know if in the future I'll have enough money in my account, or thinking about the past, regrets, all this other stuff, versus being in the present moment right now. Does that make sense? Okay. What else, guys? What else will get the gas pedal going all the time?
Conflicts.
Conflicts? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's how we handle it.
Any examples?
Road rage.
Road rage, things like that? Now,
What happened on the way here?
do we have to enter into those things?
No.
Okay. So we want to keep digging at like why are we having these conflicts? Do you ever have to enter into a conflict?
No.
Really, very rarely, right? So it's like really understanding. The more we understand this, the more we understand. Wow, do we have control over what we put in our mouth?
Yes.
Do we have control over our mind and our ego?
Developing.
That's the goal, right? And then do we have control over this?
Yes.
And the answer is we really do. We have control over all of this stuff. Remember, last week I talked about maybe it was last week, a couple weeks ago, we talked the difference between body, soul, and spirit. Okay? The three aspects of us. Everyone knows what our body is, right? Our soul is really our mind and emotions. And also our intelligence. It's also our free will. And then we have our spirit, which is our truest, perfect self. Let me ask you, is our spirit ever stressed out, freaking out? What is our true self always in a state of? Peace. constantly, right? How about our mind? Now here's the thing, with our soul, we have the ability to toggle back and forth and choose where we want to go. Most of us, we can't separate between this and this. We're literally locked, we've trained ourselves to be stuck down here. Does that make sense to everybody? So, hey, when we are going to eat food, what's telling us what to eat our food? Why are we making our decisions? Is our body telling us or our spirit? Right? How many people here have fasted, they've cleansed, and then they go to eat later on and they pick something up and they feel this energy of, whoa, I can't eat this. Right? It's like their mouth is like, I want this, but then there's like this bigger thing inside you like, whoa, I can't eat this right now. Has anyone ever experienced that?
Yeah.
What you're feeling is the spirit versus the body telling you what to do. Does that make sense? Okay. So, I want us to realize that when we're looking at stress, what we're really doing is we're just hanging out in this vibration over and over. We're choosing to hang out in these lower vibrations over and over and over again. We have complete control of not doing that. We just have to become conscious of it and to start really tuning in to what our spirit is telling us to do on a moment by moment basis, staying in the present time. Make sense? That's what it's all about. Taking time for it. So, what are some things that we can do to get us in this present moment?
Meditation.
Right?
Breathe.
Breath. Just be mindful.
Breathe.
Quiet time.
Meditation. Oh. You guys read that? How about books? Anyone ever read like a self-help book and they feel like way better? Right? So it's finding out what puts you in the present moment. You know what it is for me? It's going for a long run.
Having fun.
When I go for a long run, guess what my mind does? Just quiets down completely.
Exercise.
So what here puts you guys in the present moment? Painting,
Scuba dive.
walking on the beach, scuba diving,
Walking.
playing music, listening to music, right? And it's going to be different for every single person here. But this is where we start talking about self-love. So every day that you get up, are we just going through the routine? Are we waking up and not making time for these things that really put us into our spirit? Does that make sense? Conscious of our spirit and what makes it happy. Or are we just going through the motions? Gotta go to work, I'm too fixed, I gotta pay bills, I have to do this today. Does that make sense? So, it's really, guys, loving yourself and being in this zone. Now, I've got to talk about subluxation too, alright?
Always.
You
Yeah,
gotta talk about
what would
it.
a lecture be without
I
subluxation?
have to brainwash you slowly. That's the whole point of these lectures, is just slowly brainwash everybody.
At least he's honest.
Walking subluxation zone. So what's the role of subluxation? Hey, where's the atlas located?
Right there.
Okay. Guess what happens when your atlas subluxates?
Stop that.
It literally locks you into a state of stress. And you can actually see this on the nerve graphs. The nerve graphs that I run on you, they're actually measuring your skin temperature. What happens to your skin temperature when you're stressed? Right? Now what you'll notice when I do a nerve graph is it's got a bar on the left and it's got a bar on the right, and we should see these lines run straight down. And all of a sudden you'll see sometimes I'll do someone on their neck, and when they get to their lower neck, all of a sudden it just goes gets really cold all of a sudden from here down to here. So I'm going to draw myself. From this part of my spine, right here, all of a sudden the skin temperature gets really cold compared to the rest of it. What is that telling you about that part of your body?
It's stress.
It's stressed out. So guess what nerves come off of that part of your body? The stress nerves going to your heart and your lungs. What is it telling me? It's telling me that your heart and your lungs are in a state of stress. They're in a state of fight or flight. And the colder it is compared to the rest of your spine, the more stressed that area is. It's a major sign of heart disease, whether any other test is picking it up or not. You can literally see it very easily. Makes sense? So I know that person's heart is going really fast. Okay? I know that they're having a hard time slowing down their heart. Means the green is going, the gas pedal's revved up, and your heart is burning through all of its energy. Okay? So when you have a subluxation, it will literally throw your head forward and start to really stress out this part and lock you in that situation. For other people, when we do a nerve graph, as we go down the graph, all of a sudden you'll see the graphs just go off the chart because it's so cold from here down. Meaning the further down you go, the colder the skin. What is that telling you? The further down you go, the more stress those organs are under. Because remember, if the skin is cold, what else is cold? Those organs. So if your skin is ice cold at that level, your organs are ice cold at that level.
And that includes your heart.
Yeah, if it's here, if it's lower on, what does that mean? If it's the nerves coming off here, what's ice cold? Digestive system. Right? So I'll ask somebody, hey, how often do you go to the bathroom? You're pretty constipated, yeah? Okay, you can see it. It's really simple, right? Their sex organs, their liver, it depends on where it is, but you'll be able to see that and tell which organs are not firing. Make sense? Yes. Same with the kidney. We didn't even talk about the kidneys here. What are the kidneys designed to do? Filter out waste, right? When you're stressed, are you going to go to the bathroom and pee while you're running from a bear? No. So your kidneys,
you might just
you do that first. Yeah, good point. Maybe not then. But typically your kidney function will actually slow down as well when you're stressed out, right? So think about it. So when you do a nerve graph and all of a sudden it gets really cold and go into your kidneys, to me it's telling me your kidneys are not working at 100%. They're not filtering out. They're in a state of shock or stress. Your kidneys are responsible for filtering out all of the toxins inside your body. So if my right kidney is cold, that means my right side of my body is not filtering out any waste.
So if somebody has diabetes and they're on medication, for example, they usually messes up their kidneys, right?
Well, pretty much all medications will eventually mess up the kidneys.
What was it? What was one?
She was just saying if somebody has diabetes and on medication, it will mess up their kidneys. Yeah, and the reason why is because all medications have to eventually get filtered out through the kidneys.
But I mean, you see it a lot with diabetics.
Yeah, you see it with, it's crazy, you see it with everybody. The number one cause of kidney breakdown, anyone know what it is? Kidney dysfunction?
Medications.
Yeah, it's not heavy medications. It's over-the-counter medications. Tylenol. Tylenol is the number one cause of it. You know? So it's not just even these heavy dose medications that are doing it. It's just that every day, I take a pill every day. I take a little aspirin every day, for example. Right? Tears up your stomach. Every time you do that, we just don't see it. There's these little tears, we don't even think about it. But think about what all disease is doing that for 20 years. It has a huge impact on you. Okay? Being stressed out for 20 years has a massive impact on you. For sure, okay? So the whole purpose of the adjustment, one of the main purposes is to take pressure off of this, and guess what happens to your vagus nerve? When you have an atlas subluxation, it's literally like cutting the brakes, cutting the cord on your brakes.
So it's cutting the cord on the vagus.
When you have a subluxation, the atlas is right where your vagus nerve is. So when you open up and you make that adjustment on that atlas, it actually activates your whole vagus nerve, and it starts to slow all of these organs, pick up your digestion, and slow down your heart, slow down your lungs, get everything back to normal again. Okay? That's why we'll see somebody with really cold grass, we'll adjust them up here, and everything warms up. Okay? It's just calming everything down. Does that make sense? Okay. See? Subluxation. Told you. Yeah.
Wow.
Guys, what's the real work here, though? This is the big point I want to understand. You know, in my orientation talks, I think we're talking more and more about this. The real work that we're all doing here is that. You guys can't see the back, huh? Trust. Yeah, what are we trusting? Yes. The infinite wisdom that created you. Trusting that more and more. That's the real work, because most of us have very little to no trust. I would say in this room, most Americans have very little to no trust. right? If you get a little symptom, what do?
Take medicine.
How many people here get really nervous and scared?
Mm-hmm.
Or how many people here are like, man, my body's healing itself. I trust that. So start listening to how you're talking to yourself. If you have a symptom pop up, what do you say? Do you say, oh my God, I'm scared, I need to take something, I need to call somebody right away? Or do you say, and guys, there's a time and a place for some of this stuff, obviously. If you cut your femoral artery, don't be like, man, I got that. But there's a time and a place, right? Or if you have that symptom, you're like, wow, my body's pretty amazing. It created me from one cell. I think it knows what it's doing. Let me check my nervous system. Let me put some good food in it and let it do its thing. Even if it takes 3, 4, 5 weeks, you know? Just let it do its thing. How many people here are in that state of trust? Right? Beautiful. And that's what's beautiful about this in our relationship is we're all moving down that scale with it. In the beginning, we might have been really freaked out, and now we're like, man, I've been through worse. I'm good. Right? Go ahead, Rita.
Yeah, when I was thought about the topic when coming here, I think it's this law of attraction that is at work.
Right.
Because you get what you think about and what you expect and so on. So,
Right.
well, that's part of the work to do.
Well, it's interesting, and there's different layers to this too. Like for me, because like the law of attraction states pretty much what you think about is what you bring about, right?
Mm.
It's easier said than done, but for me, it's been like just with my own journey, it's been wow. The more I just get in the present moment, and I just tune in, and I just like every single second of every day, I don't try to think about. I try to use my mind less and less, and I try to connect to God more and more in my heart. Just being in the moment and just connecting and feeling, and just saying prayers of gratitude. And it's like because of that, what's happening? Because there is a lot of that. What are you going to bring into you more? More gratitude, more trust, more love. That's it.
Well, I think that's a solution. What you just described. You've got to be more in the moment.
I read a really cool story yesterday. It was this guy talking about a room. He's like, if you go into a room, a cold, dark room, it's empty. He's like, there's no love in that room. There's no hate in that room. There's nothing in it until you walk in, and what you bring in is what's there. And what's cool about it is if you walk in and you bring love and there's other people in that room, it'll be amplified. Does that make sense? And whatever you bring, wherever you go, and that's what it's more and more into, is wow, you're walking around bringing this stuff to the world. Wherever you go, this is where it's all coming from. The world is the void. It's nothing until we come into it and what we choose to bring into it, right? So for me, it's us working on this more and more and more. Does that make sense? Being present and just connecting more and more and feeling that love. Guys, that love is always there, isn't it?
Yes.
We just don't feel it all the time because we're not trying to sense it. But that's, to me, what this whole work is about. Stress doesn't kill anybody. This is a fake talk. I just lied to you guys the whole time. Right? It's not stress at all.
It's attachment.
Yes, it's attachment. It's how we are reacting to this stuff. Make sense?
Yes.
So, this is the real work over here. I'm still going to be stressed, for sure. But that's what we're all here to remind each other for, too, is to have this community, to have these awesome people, and to keep us putting the brakes on it by us trusting in this more and more and more as we go. Yeah, Judy, go ahead.
But there are things that we can do to facilitate it. I get the feeling that people don't know they don't have to think about something. You'll hear somebody say, I can't stop thinking about that, I can't stop thinking about that. There's really only one way to stop thinking about something, and that's to think about something else.
Right?
And people don't know it's that simple.
Yeah.
If I'm thinking about something, or if I find myself thinking I'm getting angry or something, all I have to do is find something nice to look at. A picture of my grandchildren, or look out the window and watch a bird, or see a flower. It's as simple as that.
Right.
And it gets you right back to spirit.
Yeah, we get into this state where we think we have to solve all the problems. And just realize this, it's this simple. Think about how complicated one cell of your body is. There's no way you know how to make your body work. There's no way a doctor knows what's going on. I have no clue what's going on inside anybody here. It's like, I don't know. I'm a great doctor. I have no clue. But literally, naive to think that. So what do we trust in? Oh, there's an infinite wisdom that created that knows exactly what to do, and it's taking that to the next level. It's ridiculous. Think about all the coincidences and the people you've met. I mean, all you guys here. It's like I couldn't have planned to meet you guys. It's just all God's grace that has brought everyone together in this room right now, right? It's unbelievable, right? So like, why do we keep trying to think about how to solve all our problems instead of just letting go? We don't need to solve our problems. They're not for us to solve.
That's right.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Joey. Do you have a question or comment?
I think Kevin knows this better than anybody in this room, maybe Karina. I have a tendency to want to solve every problem ever going on inside me.
Yeah.
One thing that I've been like practicing a lot lately is mindfulness. That's literally, it was hard at first. I mean, it's been like a 3-year-long journey with this, but it's literally forcing myself to sit there for 10-15 minutes a day in the morning and at night, and I don't do anything. I put my phone away. I don't have any, like, TV's not on. I'm not thinking about the past or the present or the future. I'm not thinking about anything. I'm just forcing myself to sit there. Whatever comes in, comes in. I don't think about it. I just listen. I myself keep my voice quiet. And then all the thoughts that come in are just there. And then they just leave. It's like a nagging little kid that pisses you off. And then he just, once you respond to him, he's like, you just tell him, man, I'm listening to you. He just runs away. He just does something else. That's basically what it is. You just sit there with your thoughts. And you let whatever it is that wants to come in, come in. Eventually, there's nothing left that like wants to come in. Everything else, everything that needed to come in has come in, and now you have empty space. You're mindful.
Love it, Joey. So guys, any questions for this? Questions, comments, concerns? Nothing.
Conflicts. I mean, what happens if you have somebody in your life that puts all their problems on you?
Right. You know, it's so funny that you guys brought this up. I feel like this is the lesson I'm going through. So, not that I have a whole bunch of conflicts going on, but I feel like lately I've just had so much clarity with this, and it's like, look, you're only responsible for one thing: your relationship with the person in front of you, and you're only responsible for one thing, and it's to act with love towards that person. And it's like, look, if they feel a certain way, you can't control how they feel. Right? If you have a relationship with one person and somebody else is upset about that, like let's say you have a friend over here and you're having a relationship, and God is telling you, hey, I want to hang out in this relationship, and this other person is jealous or envious or saying stuff, that's not your problem. You know, how many times do we make it our problem? We're like, wow, we want to make everyone feel good all the time. But it's like, wow, for me it's been like just bringing my focus in and just being like, look, this is my relationship with you. Let me just be in integrity with this person. Does that make sense?
Sometimes you have to put people out of your life.
Yeah.
You really do.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that too.
No, there isn't.
So as long as you're doing everything with love, what problem is there? Right? Does that help at all?
Yeah, but it still doesn't make it
Easier
easy.
said than done.
Yeah. But hey, this is what's cool. It's not always about the easy solution. It's about doing the right thing. Right? The thing with integrity too. Does that make sense? You know, B.J. Palmer, my favorite chiropractor, he said, wow, I always do this. I always like, oh, it's great. I had this great quote and I forget it. Yeah, I'm not supposed to say it. Whatever. It was a really good quote though. I forget it now. I totally forgot what it was, but
You weren't supposed to say it because you forgot.
pretty much going the easy path is what makes rivers and men crooked. Right?
Say that again.
Going the easy road or the easy way is what makes rivers and men crooked. So think about a river, it follows the easiest path, right? So if we follow the easiest path, it doesn't make us principled. We don't always have to do the easiest thing. We have to do the right thing, the thing with integrity. Sometimes it's doing the hardest thing we have to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And that's what we're responsible for.
Well, your job is to stay in your own spirit. So that doesn't even equate to easy and hard. It just
Is.
being in the spirit, whatever it takes.
Yeah. We call it the dynamic essential. When you're aware, humble, and obedient to the voice of God within you. You become dynamic, and that's essential. That's the only thing you listen to.
But there is
something important and related to you. When you are in that place, but your partner is not, that is when it's a little more difficult. And that is when you need to center yourself and say, well, send them love, and what then you will never be. Or evaluate the relationship.
Yes. Yeah. So, and it's like just really like you're saying, like their journey is their journey, right? That's the hardest part. Right? Awesome. Any other questions, comments, guys? Hey, next week is going to be a really crazy time.
What is it?
Oh, I don't even want to announce it. It's so weird. It's going to be really fun.
Dinosaurs and.
And then, hey, tomorrow night we have a dinner talk, so if you guys know anyone, please let them know, okay? Thank you.